All right, we are in the last couple rounds of the tournament before finals. So right now we are in round 5, which has the winners bracket finals, Gary Oak versus Aiko, and has two matchups in the losers bracket, Pojis versus Tomahawk and High Lord versus 64 Squares, which is what we are starting off with. So, winner stays alive, loser goes home. Deoxys. Any tricks? We haven't seen this in a while. And there's the trick. There's the Scarf receiving a Cobra Berry and getting hit by a Shadow Ball. I was going to say not to a KOing, but special defense drop means it is in range. And it has to switch out because it just got given the Scarf. So 64 takes advantage of the likely slower Pokemon switching in and goes to Darkrai to shut something down. So that was a lucky drop, and in comes Deoxys Speed to absorb that. And Sleep Clause is active, and now Kyogre comes in on a nasty plot, trying to blow through Bronzong more efficiently. But that is a Scarf Kyogre with Water Spout, and that eliminates the Darkrai. So now Deoxys Speed can be sacrificed, so no spikes, which is going to be unfortunate, but Darkrai wound up not doing much else, so, could be a lot worse. In comes Palkia with a very free turn, and there is the Deoxys Speed Sack, no longer needed to keep Sleep Claws alive. And now in comes Dialga for probably not rocks, because there's a Bronzong. It's just going to go right for a Thunder, cause some havoc, and no para. Jirachi comes in. What's it going to do? What's it going to threaten? Double switch to Palkia. Nicely done. That's an important text, but it can wait. In comes Bronzong against Palkia, which can live a degree of rain-boosted water moves, but not necessarily wanting to risk it, and the Dialga is bulky and has lefties, so it's a good switch in there. You could also sense that it was bulky from how little Thunder did to Jirachi. If it was more all-out offensive, likely would have done a little bit more. Spatial Ren not to a KOing after the Surf, and the Habin doesn't really change much in this scenario if Palkia stays in, because Dragon Pulse isn't going to KO healthy Palkia anyway. But it does help out if Palkia wants to switch out, which it does, wanting to preserve itself for Kyogre later on. In comes Deoxys, which is going to get 2 KO'd, and it's going to get rocks as it gets KO'd. Now in comes Jirachi again, gets up a Wish, and this Dialga just plugging away. Because this Jirachi is really just, might paralyze it, but it's really just giving the Dialga health. And no paralysis yet. Thunder, no paralysis from 2 body slams and 4 thunders by my count. Yeah, 4. So just wishing, staying healthy, and Dialga just getting back up to full health fully. Another Thunder, no para. Another Body Slam, no para. So I think Showdown is currently broken. But Dialga very much favored in this matchup. It's because Jirachi can't hurt it, and it's just burning wishes. I mean, and yeah, Dialga doesn't have infinite PP either, as Body Slam and Thunder finally get their paras. But Jirachi, it has a lot of Earth powers. It just needed that one Thunder para, and Jirachi is not exactly scot-free here either, and Dialga has slowly gotten back up to full health. Dragon Pulse in case Palkia wants to pivot in or something. Yeah, now Giratina comes in on a full para, so we won't know if that was another Earth power or not. And Dragon Pulse isn't going to KO full health Giratina, but it's also... Wow, it took absolutely nothing from that Draco. And now in comes Bronzong on EQ, so now Rocks will finally go up for High Lord. And so all that health Dialga got back was ruined by a full para. But it paralyzed Jirachi, so not all was lost. Great sequence from High Lord there, where he goes to Palkia on Bronzong, and with Dialga at half health, and it's not going to switch into Palkia anymore. So he's forced to blow up with Bronzong to try and get something out of it, and that is beautifully taken advantage of by 64 Squares, who goes to Giratina on the boom. Now, in comes Palkia of High Lord's own. Spatial Ren does nothing to the Jirachi, but some rain-boosted water stuff could, of course, make this quickly go awry. And there is a rain-boosted Surf. Now, this is a speed tie, but High Lord does not necessarily have to risk it, because whereas Squares is a lot more scared of this Palkia. So he pivots into his Scarf Kyogre and goes for Thunder to hit Jirachi more decently if it tries to switch in. And that gives Giratina another switch in. And rather than sack the Dialga, he's just going to sack the Kyogre, go for Paralysis. And now Palkia's going to come in again. And the lasts are really, really revealing here. I think High Lord's last should probably resist fighting in some way, because right now Lucario is utterly terrifying. Whereas it could be a number of things for Squares, but some form of weather is quite likely. Whether Groudon or Kyogre, not just because of weather control, but I mean that obviously is a big thing, but also because they're such big sweepers in and of themselves. And from the way neither of them wanted to switch in favor of Jirachi trying to get a para on it, then I think that supports that a little bit more. Jirachi comes in and protects, and full paras first, and it's going to try and protect it. It gets a triple protect through para, but it's still going to get taken out by Surf. And there indeed is Kyogre. And it's going to get thundered, paralyzed, and that's going to be enough for High Lord to take this one home. So Palkia really showing how threatening it is on both sides in this one. Game 2, High Lord up 1-0. Kyogre, another Dio Speed. Spikes right away. Hydro drops it. So very possibly another Scarfer. But this time on Squares' end. In comes Kyogre to match it. And Kyogre into Kyogre is also always a risky proposition. Not because of a Thunder para, full para, but because it depends on speed investment. And High Lord being faster is now off to an obscene advantage as he just gets a free... He's KO'd 2 Pokemon and taken 0% in return. I mean, that was obviously very unlucky. But that is the risk of... There's a reason why most Deoxys leads are supported by Palkia or Latios. Or Dialga, obviously. Because being able to contend with Kyogre in some way is big, and using your own Kyogre has its risk. So in comes Wob, and Mirror Coats, High Lord not messing around with any... I mean, he might not even have... Actually, I want to say that there is a possibility that he does have Thunder Wave, just because he... because if it was Water Spout, Hydro, Ice Beam, Thunder, then it would then he would have Water Spouted the Deoxys. But if it's I guess it could be Hydro Surf, or I mean if he's like Calm Mind Last, or last round we saw Rest on Lum Kyogre lead, then I get not wanting to mess around, especially because you reveal whether the Wob is Custap or Lefties. We see Custap here, or sorry, we see Lefties here. And you also remove its potential to KO another Pokemon later, because Wob specializes in taking out Scarfers, and that is not going to be an option for it anymore. Bronzong pivots into Groudon, and Ho-Oh comes in before rocks are up, and with Kyogre out of the picture, then this is terrifying. I like the dual weather setup here, as Bronzong is not ready to go down. I mean, you could say, oh, well, the Ho is obviously going to substitute, and you should just boom. Well, then you're losing your Bronzong, and that's why High Lord went for the sub, because if the Bronzong stays and booms, that means no more Bronzong. And with Wob down, then High Lord's got 5 Pokemon. He'll have Ho at 81%, and a full health Groudon against 2 and 3 unrevealed against 2 unrevealeds. And Wob. So, but it's less likely that happens. So he subs, and Wob is getting sacrificed, and now Ho is behind a sub, and it's looking really, really brutal. So in comes Kabutops, and it sets up. Wow, that is unexpected. It avoids a Sacred Fire burn, but that's a really cool move to use on Kabutops, even if you have Kyogre, because that means it's not just dependent on Kyogre to deal with the sun, obviously. You can set up Rain on a Groudon switch, and then Groudon can no longer counter you, which is, of course, huge. And it'll help with Sand as well. So rain into waterfall and do a second crit sacred fire. The damage isn't big, but the second 50% burn goes off. And now Fori is going to come in. And Kubutops tries to rain again on the obvious seeming Groudon switch. So nice little mid-ground from High Lord there. And now the waterfall bounces off, and there goes Spin. So this one's looking very much in High Lord's favor, especially because he's going to get hazards and squares forfeits. And yeah, so High Lord stays alive in the loser's bracket. So our next loser's bracket series, Pojis, Tomahawk, Dio Speed, Jirachi, Spikes, T-Wave, and yeah, oh, sorry, I blanked for a second because I was checking to make sure that a follow-up text wasn't sent. That was also important. So, okay, so here we see Pojis using Jirachi's Jirachi lead, the Lum variant. So let's try that again. Spikes, T-Wave on Deoxys, and now rocks go up. And Tomahawk breaks through the Paraflinch and gets a T-Wave off, but it is, in fact, Lum to deal with Darkrai. So now Dialga comes in to get the rocks up on the Jirachi. So the Deoxys is crippled, but it'll be death fodder, and it got a layer of spikes. And Tomahawk's got his hazard pressure. So this Jirachi lead is not meant to try and flinch out full health leftovers Dialgas. That just is a sign of not being able, either not being able to switch into opposing Dialga early in the game with hazards up, or not being, or not willing to. And I'm not sure which of that is. Because, I mean, it's not going to work, especially because Ironhead is running out of PP really quickly with pressure. So it's just a way of, hey, I'm going to try and get as much damage on this Dialga as possible and just toss the Jirachi, I guess. And it seems to be working. He Thunder Waves there, I don't know out of niceness or what, but maybe because he expected the Dialga to, I don't know, switch? Surely not. Like, what else is going to come in that'll deal with Jirachi better than a leftovers Dialga? And so that undoes some of the Ironhead damage there. And Tomahawk hits Thunder through Para and paralyzes the Jirachi. And now it finally decides to U-turn. So that was perplexing. As Fortress comes in and dodges the next Thunder. And now in comes Giratina. Oh. T-Spikes go down. And the Fortress is not afraid of HP Fire or Will-O-Wisp. HP Fire is the one to be really scared of. But it gets Thunder, parried, full parried. And gets up a layer of spikes. And Draco Meteor finishes it off. So lots of hazards, lots of damage being scattered everywhere. There's the Dio Speed sacrifice as Latios comes in. And, oh, that's really nasty. So Latios sets or forces a lot of switches. And with sub, when you have, as Tomahawk says in the chat, he also almost brought that set. When you have a sub Latios, when you sacrifice something slower to Latios and it subs on the switch, then it gets a lot harder to deal with because it, yeah, now when you bring in your Revenge Killer, you're not chasing Latios out anymore. You have to take another hit from it, and that, of course, makes it a hell of a lot harder to deal with. It's game-changing. So he Thunders. Actually, he gets Roost first, so he's at full health as well. And that Roost, and that use of Thunder there shows that it is Draco Meteor last and not Dragon Pulse. And that takes out the Dialga, and it's still behind a sub. And with even at -2, then it's still scary because it's got that free Thunder. And it can even, I was going to say, it could have subbed to knock Kyogre into range of the next Thunder with Poison. So it's got great synergy there, but Kyogre was already in range. Now Kingdra comes in, it's going to have to pull off some real miracle work there. And it goes for Draco Meteor. I think if you're that behind, you got to go for the water move. Get the KO, because I don't know if that Latios is being sacked because of how easily it revenges Giratina O and how threatening it is in general. But I don't know. I also don't know that it made a huge. Well, no, because Rain Hydro would have threatened Lugia. Well, I don't know that it really would have threatened Lugia more meaningfully anyway, because he's going for waterfalls, and yeah, Hydro hits harder. But yeah, anyway, Calm Mind Lugia comes in, and we've seen this dance before. The way for offense to deal with Calm Mind Lugia, when you're unprepared is, or when your checks have been weakened, is to go for Thunder Paras and then hope you get lucky with the help from that. But, pressure is draining Thunder really quickly. And, the Lugia Whirlwinds in Lucario, which has to try and SD on a full para, so its Crunch can actually do something. And that could actually be threatening. But if it's that Air Cutter Lugia again, then Lucario with the hazards is more close to being in range after the next round. Now in comes Magnezone into Giratina. I guess maybe the Lugia is Mono Call Mind. Otherwise, why would the thing be sacked there? But yeah, he goes to Latios and is going to take out Giratina with Draco, and Lucario's not going to set up on that. So he has to hope that the last is obliterated by Lucario and the Lugia is walled by it. But that's not the case, as Kyogre comes in and takes it out, probably a Scarf set. Interesting team from Pojis, and he takes a 1-0 lead. Let me just answer this text real quick, because it is fairly important. I don't like being one of those people who takes forever to answer texts. It's kind of, it's very teenager. 1 second. I don't know if this is better or worse than my bathroom breaks, because I'm right here, but... Yeah, sorry. This is gonna be extended. I'm gonna try and do both. I've never done this before. But Latios and Jirachi lead. Latios lead. We haven't seen that before. But yeah, at Oko's Deoxys, and I'm having trouble paying attention. I'm so sorry. This is very unprofessional of me. Uh, I'm gonna mute the microphone for a second because I actually have to answer this. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That really could not wait. Anyway, so okay, you've watched, so we're just gonna recap it real quick. Latios into another Jirachi lead, unusual, but Latios gets the jump on Kyogre leads also, as well as Okoing non-sash DOS. So I like the idea for sure, and with how many Kyogre leads we've seen in this tournament, that is a good call. The Jirachi U-turns right away and goes into Latios to Draco Meteor. So interesting that it didn't try to set up rocks. Might mean that it doesn't have it, which is interesting. Because that seems like one of the benefits of a lead Jirachi, that you get up rocks early in the game against a bunch of stuff, if given the opportunity. But here it just went for momentum with U-turn as it Draco'd into... I don't agree with that Protect as Palkia switched in, though. That's too passive, because if it has HP Fire, it goes for it, but you can better pivot around that by going to Groudon or something to take advantage of the -2. And if it doesn't have HP Fire, then it's going to switch, and you're just going to Protect and fall behind and do nothing. So I think if you're going to... If you want to stay in and... You know, because you can... I'm pretty sure you can take a -2 HP Fire at that range, even from Soldu Latias. So if you want to get the Spike, get the Spike. And if you're afraid of the HP Fire and you want to preserve 4, then go to Groudon or something, but don't Protect. So, Fortress Protect on Palkia, which reveals Fire Blast, and in comes Ho-Oh as T-Tar is revealed for Pojis. So that's a positive matchup, and I'm so sorry, but I really do have to answer this again. Groudon is going to come in on Stone Edge, not risking anything for Tomahawk. Good move. And the T-Tar has rocks. Okay. So I wonder what the Jirachi is using that makes it not want to get up rocks. Nice Toxic on the Latias switch. I know the T-Tar is not going to stay in there. That was good from Pojis, taking the chance to get the rocks on the obvious Groudon rocks. And now Fori's going to come in on the second Meteor. And I think it should probably just get a Spike, so it's putting on more pressure. Simply because, okay, well, I wasn't expecting Dugtrio to come in. This is like an OU team, but with... Oops, that wasn't intentional. It's like an OU team, but with a Palkia, you know, pre-Doug ban, obviously. But yeah, I was going to say, if you, the T-Tar might come in and just get up rocks again as you spin, so you may as well get a hazard and be more pressuring over the course of a game. So that Doug shows that it's banded as it takes the thing out. And now in comes Latios with a T-Spike to pressure the T-Tar. And now I'm going to answer this text really quick. Pardon my unprofessionalism, but I swear it's... Alright, sorry about that. I swear, we're talking incredibly important things here. So, the Groudon looks insane. Yeah, so Jirachi comes in, and it body slams and doesn't pair. The Groudon shows... Yeah, even this is like an very... actually, no, this is a set that used to be used when Ubers was the current gen, to some extent, when people thought the games were too fast for Wish to be of much use. But they wanted to scout like Choice Band Garchomp and stuff, because that used to be popular in Diamond and Pearl. Yeah, that's one from the archives. I mean, I'm sure that it came from like a, team-dependent thing and not more like, let me dig through the 2007 forums and see what I find. But it is funny to see that those old sets wind up being very good. So it U-turns out into Latias, which roosts as Tomahawk's own Latias comes in, threatening... it out. So that's really interesting. Number one, that Latias is the Latias answer. And number two, that Tomahawk has a double Lati attack. I really like that. It's really dangerous. It's a very common strategy in Gen 3 Ubers, but not so much in Gen 4, which is crazy considering how good the Latis are. So Jirachi comes in again, and in comes Groudon. Okay, oh, never mind. This does have Wish, not Iron Head last. So U-turn, Body Slam, Protect, Wish. That's a set that's been used at some points in OU, actually, which makes me think this is even more of an OU team, as I'm not sure why Groudon switched out there, but it works because it gets Pojis to reveal his own Groudon, and it's a Scarf Dialga, so it's not going to get trapped. Wow, actually that was a really cool move. Oh, that's a great move from Tomahawk's end. I was like, yeah, why are you bothering switching out? Because the Jirachi is either going to protect and stay in. I mean, if it protects and stays in, fine. It's Sunny Dialga versus Jirachi. But it also will U-turn out in a lot of instances to Latias to keep it healthy. And what's really smart about that is that it forces Pojis to reveal his last because his Groudon. Because if T-Tar comes in, it gets poisoned, and that makes it easier to deal with for the Latias. If Jirachi stays in Protect, no harm, no foul. And Latias and Palkia don't want to come in and Dialga. So either you force in the T-Tar to get poisoned, which is massive progress, and a free switch to Groudon, or you force Pojis to reveal the last. So that was really, really nicely done from Tomahawk. He Draco Meteors that's a super heads-up play. I think that would have gone over a lot of people's heads. So really nice work to him for considering that. So he Dracos, and that's another great move. He Dracos trying to take out the Groudon, and knowing that he's got two Lotties, and it's very likely that Pojis tries to catch one on the switch. So, I mean, I think the Groudon, it might have been a little risky of a move considering how scary Scarf Dialga is, but it worked out, and Groudon goes down. So now Doug comes in, since at -2, I don't know, can it live at -2? If it's got a lot of bulk, maybe. Yeah, that's got a ton of bulk, as it survives the -2 Draco Meteor from Scarf Dialga and takes it out and dies itself. So Tomahawk's unexpected Dialga play paid dividends. In comes Jirachi again. In comes Tomahawk's Latios. I'm putting it out super slow because I really have to answer this again. I really apologize. I'm not going to re-record this. And no, I will not edit this out. Are you kidding me? HP Fire and Sun goes off, and down it goes. So now in comes T-Tar, I assume, to Revenge, and that's going to make it harder to deal with Latias. But the problem is going to be the Palkia Assault late game. So let's see how this goes. Oh, the T-Tar has Lum. All right. So that I don't know if that necessarily changes much, though, because the Groudon's going to come in. All right, BRB. Alright, I will not spoil with the details, but yeah. Okay, so Draco misses a second time, but it doesn't really matter because Latias comes in and Grass Knots and wins the speed tie. Well, we don't know that it is a speed tie, I guess, but takes that out, and now Palkia can't do it all since the Groudon was not forced to take damage, and as a result... Oh, it's Bulk Up. Oh, never mind. It's not threatening because it'll always die to Latias Draco if it's not Scarf. Tomahawk just went to Groudon to get maximum Protect out of it. So, unless it's like sub-rest Bulk Up Palkia, or which is like the worst sounding thing in the world, then it's fine. It's Bulk Up Fire Blast, so Skarm won't be walling it. And I guess the Doug Trio removes Heatran, so that's interesting. But it's not even going to get past the Groudon, and this series goes to 1-1. All right. Game 3. Kyogre. Thunder, whackin'. Thunder, no whackin'. Could we see a Custap Berry or something? No, Pojis just goes right to Blissey. I don't know how I feel about taking so much damage on Kyogre if you're just gonna go to Blissey afterwards. Like, because it's not like you really need this Kyogre damaged, because it's a lead Kyogre, you can handle it with, but, I mean, maybe if you're afraid of Water Spout or something, I don't know. I don't know if that's really worth it. You can just Seismic Toss it, and then that issue goes away, so. Rocks on Zong, Zong comes in, and Zone comes in and Magnet rises, so Zone is out of the picture, or sorry, Zong is out of the picture. It's going to blow up for some damage, unless Magnet Zone does, yeah, okay, it doesn't. And it gets put in range for Latios's Surf. And again, I don't know why Blissey didn't come in there. I'm not saying that Magnezone's going to be super useful, he said, as Dialga came in. Not necessarily that Magnezone would help with Dialga, but that it could. But just having the sacrifice can be really valuable. And now this is looking like some sort of mono-attacking Dialga. So, yeah, Magnezone would have been good versus it. It's not like Blissey is terrified. I don't know. That felt very... it feels like Pojis has lost almost all his health on Kyogre and has lost his, half-health Magnezone when he really didn't need to special attackers when he had a full health Blissey. So 2 Magnezones in one game is very unusual, as Fori gets a spin-off, and Thunder plows through it for a 2-hit KO, but spikes go down. So now Groudon comes in. I mean, I guess the opposing Kyogre getting chipped is good for Groudon, but I don't know that it's that necessary. But maybe I'm overthinking things. I don't know. I just don't like seeing Pokemon get thrown away, because now Blissey comes in, to Latios like that, and yeah, it would have been. I mean, maybe he recognized that he was far ahead and he didn't need to, as he very nicely dodges the boom on Blissey with Kyogre. I mean, Groudon is also a good choice there because it eats the boom and isn't afraid of Hidden Power Ground. But yeah, Magnezone switching into Blissey like that is a danger sign. But yeah, maybe he thought, I have a good matchup and I'm going to play super, super safe, which I don't dislike on principle. I just think that there's a difference between playing safe and then playing so overly safe that you're needlessly throwing away Pokemon, because that's how you open up avenues for your opponent to come back. So, yeah, now Lugia comes in. And Garchomp is gonna, Lugia's gonna do Lugia things. Actually, coming, pretty close there. But it's looking like if it's an offensive Groudon, then that and Lugia are immensely, in conjunction with Blissey as well. These three, it's almost certain that Poji's gonna bring this one in. And Calm Mind on what I assume is a Whirlwind, yep, because Lugia is way faster than Dialga. So, yeah, this Calm Mind Lugia has been such a force in these games we've been seeing. And once again, offense just really, really struggles with it. So, and with Magnezone and Fortress support, then you're doing pretty well against defense as well, which is Lugia's weak point. So this Lugia is Calm Minding to obscene. I don't know why he's risking this crit. I don't know if he's being funny or if he's just like messing with him, but that felt really gratuitous to get like up to 3 Calm Minds against this Latios that's already had its special attack dropped. I don't know. I guess maybe he's really not wanting to risk, losing to bulk up Dialga. It's at half health. There's spikes. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading too much into things. But, yeah, this Lugia is looking like it's going to bring it in. And it is, oh, there's a crit, and not quite enough. Yeah, Air Cutter also has a lot of PP and has a high crit rate. So there's the rest from Dialga, and it's SD Groudon too, so not exactly risking losing to any form of bulk up. And that is it. So Pojis is going to advance to the losers bracket semifinals and face off against High Lord. But before we see that, we are going to see dude, that is not important. Leave me alone. That's a different text. um, we are going to see the winners bracket finals, which is Garay Oak versus Aiko, and that is our next series. All right. Here we have Deoxys, Kyogre. Water Spout, so that's a slow Deoxys, got a lot of bulk, and it mirror coats the Kyogre. That's very cool. Now that is metagame innovation. You're seeing a lot of Kyogres trying to beat down Deoxys speed leads, and you don't just get hazards on them with Sash, because then you have the dance of what do you follow it up with? Dialga, Latios, Palkia, and Kyogre can still mess with them, but here you just take Kyogre out immediately. And usually it's Deoxys, it leaves your team 5-6 down, but with hazards, and then you try to make up the difference with like Darkrai and stuff. But here it's 6-5. I mean, it's effectively 5-5 because it's almost dead, but hey, Deoxys might still get hazards because it's kind of fast. So in comes Quillfish, which is not going to do much to a healthy Dialga or Giratina O, and that's a great move on Aiko's end, really bringing it back. Spiking on the switch, so Deoxys speed is now KO'd, so no hazards for it. So at least Aiko got that much ground made up. And then comes Dialga into the, but no lefties, and just gets dropped by the Draco. So that was unusual. Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. Because now with Dialga down, probably no rocks, and yeah, now here comes the... Well, I was going to say, if it is Pursuit Darkrai, then it can at least chunk the Giratina. But Giratina is nowhere near as frail as the Lati twins. Whereas the Lati, like especially Latios, which just dropped that Pursuit, Giratina is going to take around half. With the crit, it takes 94. So, at least Pursuit lets Aiko do more than just let Garay sacrifice Deoxys to hazards, though. So that's big. Now, in comes Kyogre, and there comes a secondary Kyogre check in Latios. It's showing Water Spout, shows probably Scarf, and Recover as Scizor comes in. Now, this is very likely in a Pursuit, but I mean, U-turn's fine too, but now Thunder goes off and gets a crit, and that is nasty. As now in comes Kingdra, and Bronzong's not really a great Kingdra answer, but we're seeing two swift swimmers in the same game, which is always nice. Now Zong comes in, and that's going to be the rocker. I don't know why Zong didn't come into Giratina earlier. That felt very wasteful to just toss Dialga like that. I mean, maybe Aiko assumed that Garay wouldn't switch out? Would switch out because it looks like a Scarf Dialga, or I don't know what, and would assume that the Steel would come in, so that would give Dialga a free attack? I don't know. Anzong coming in would have just gotten rocks up right after spikes, and that makes it way more impactful. And then you still have your Dialga around, so I don't know. I think that might have been a waste. As now the Zong gets up rocks because it had Draco Meteored on the switch, so he thought, okay, -2, but it's also Life Orb, which means mixed, which means Waterfall's going to 2-hit KO, and it just gets up rocks. And now in comes Quillfish, which can't hurt this thing outside of... Well, Poison Jab is not going to be used. It's going to be Explosion. And it's at -2, so it's going to switch out. So Quillfish at least gets more spikes, but now there's nothing to switch into Dragon move. But Garay just gets up rocks. Nice move to really lock it in. And sacks the Dialga. Or sorry, the Giratina for another KO. Now the Dragon moves are going to start dropping, and so are Aiko's Pokemon. It's 3v3, but Garay is out in front as down goes this. Also, Kingdra's faster than Quillfish, so even that is... Oh, I guess not. But Quillfish also can't KO it without without KOing itself, thanks to Boom, thanks to the quadruple water resist. So... Oh no, they're the same. They're the same speed stat. I'm sorry. That's very foolish of me. For some reason, I always had Kingdra as faster in my head. Yeah. So they speed tied. Or if Kingdra, well, a lot of the time, if it's going to be mixed Kingdra, then it's going to invest in both special attack and attack. Because with Swift Swim, you don't need max speed, whereas Quillfish just has attack and speed to invest into, so it's likely that it's going to be faster. Yeah, so double down here. And actually, if this is not a Scarf Dialga, I mean, I think it is a Scarf. No, wait, it's Scarf Latios. So that actually makes things interesting because Scarf Kyogre does not beat Latios, and then Dialga would drop to Draco Meteor. So I guess he's gonna force Draco Meteor first from the Latios, and then try and beat it with Kyogre. Oh, but Draco misses and gets outraged, so that makes up for the crit on Scizor earlier. And that is a 1-0 lead for Gary. We're going to switch the perspectives here and start the game off slow because, once again, this is an ongoing text conversation. So, forgive me. Oh my god, there's an Ariados. Yes! This is more important. Well, Ariados... Yeah, oh my god, this is... I just noticed there's an Ariados. It's too cool. Because with Insomnia, it beats Darkrai. And, yeah, I'm just going to let this play out. But, yeah, T-Spikes are big, and it's not really better than Tentacruel, but Gary was like, yeah, I have a 1-0 game lead, I can bring it. And also it's cool. Anyway, BRB. Alright, so yeah, let's just look at Ariados' sprite from the other side because, oh my god, so cool. Yeah, with Insomnia, it is immune to... if you haven't seen that video of mine, I assume if you're this far in the tournament, then you've seen that video where I talk about everything having Ignition DPP Ubers, including Ariados, because of its Stab X Scizor for Darkrai and Deoxys Speed and Shadow Sneak to help finish him off. It's actually really weak, so it doesn't even do a very good job of that. But but it gets T-Spike, so you T-Spike safely on Darkrai, unless it, has Taunt and uses it, not fearing X-Scissor. But yeah, T-Spikes go a long way. So Ariados is really just a T-Spiking machine, and you run Sash. It's like Tentacruel, but you run Sash without giving up the Lum to block Dark Void from Darkrai. That's basically it. So yeah, and now it's just gonna sneak, and in comes Dialga on Jirachi. Rocks, T-Wave, Wish, Earth Power. Jirachi unable to hurt Dialga, and just trying to stall it out, which is going to not go far. Especially because Dialga uses Roar. It's bad if you're spamming Stealth Rock to, try and stall the Dialga out, but then it roars, and now the T-Spikes are showing their stuff as... They affect a lot of Pokemon in Ubers, and they were set up by Ariados. And Kyogre coming in is not good because it is answered by Dialga. And +1 Hydro stings, but it's also going to get roared. And it's gotten chunked by Poison plus Dragon Pulse. And in comes Darkrai. Also, don't let the Ariados get KO'd, please. Oh, well, okay, it's not KO'd yet. Just let's look at that sprite. Isn't it really something? Yeah, I think Gary said he brought it because Faint said he would give $20 or something to anyone who brought Ariados to the tournament. So he's like, yeah, if I have a game lead, why not? It's just a T-Spikes machine after all. Fundamentally not that much different from a Tentacruel. It doesn't have Rapid Spin or anything, but who cares? Not that Tentacruel reliably Rapid Spins anyway, but at least it doesn't get spiked on in its face. So Kyogre's getting roared around as Dialga is just showing its untouchability for a lot of teams like this that focus on things like Jirachi and Kyogre. And Gary shows Manaphy, great Pokemon and great T-Spikes abuser, as if Palkia is the answer as opposed to a Lottie Twin, then it's going to get ugly, as it just spams Specs Thunder, doing a lot. Para full Para, and yeah, Hydration heals off the Para, but it means it doesn't get to rest. Or, maybe he used Calm Mind again. We don't know. But yeah, Specs Palkia is a beast, and Ariados is sadly sacrificed. Yeah, I have to answer this again. I'm so sorry. Yeah, trust me, that was crucial. Yeah, so what Ariados got sacrificed to the Specs Palkia. I like seeing Specs Palkia. Whenever it pops up, it is a pleasure. And it's locked into Thunder, so Giratina forces it out, and Giratina of Ecozone is sacrificed, and now Jirachi comes in and eats EQ, so yeah, Giratina is looking nasty in this one, as EQ into Kyogre, yeah. Giratina uses Shadow Force here, which is amazing. A great set. Great T-Spikes abuser, because not only is it Giratina's strongest physical stab, but it also racks up an extra turn of poison damage. And if you switch around it, then it's racking up more hazard damage. And the Pokemon that you had out against Giratina is no longer fighting Giratina. So that's why it's really good. Yeah. Apologies once again, but this is big stuff. And we've got a lot of games to get to, so. Rachi is going to, Shadow Force KOs Kyogre, and it's very cool, and then Manaphy gets sacrificed. Spatial Rend, Jirachi does not quite Revenge Kill with U-Turn, and instead Dialga gets sacrificed. So, that's all fine. That Palkia really put in a lot of work. Darkrai comes in and reveals itself to be Scarf as it outruns and Dark Voids the Scarfed Jirachi, which had U-turned on the Palkia. And now Mewtwo comes in, and so a very T-Spikes affected team as it pops off a Thunder. And now Jirachi comes in to try and get a Wish off and heal itself and maybe withstand this assault. I don't know, but it just gets tricked. I mean, it's not looking too good at this point anyway, because Giratina itself is threatening to win with Darkrai as low as it is. And a slow turn on the locked T-Wave, Shadow Sneak. It's going to get T-Waved, but not really a big deal, as Darkrai is sacked and then Poison Mewtwo. The Jirachi receives a Scarf again, but it's not really going to matter because Giratina is going to finish it off, or the last. And then it's Giratina plus the last to finish off, no para, this poisoned, weakened Mewtwo. There's Calm Mind, and it goes for Shadow Force, knowing it lives Ice Beam, so it can't recover stall on, okay, that was funny, seeing Ice Beam go to the left, or to the right like that. So it can't recover stall on Shadow Sneak. So great move, and we are going to see, unless a full para, nope, no full para, and Shadow Force takes it out. So Gary has won the winner's bracket and moves on to... Gary is our first finalist of the tournament. So let's just see that we wanted to see Ariados from the other side, and we wanted to see Ice Beam go to the left this time, and then Shadow Force KO. I think it's just so cool. The Shadow Force Giratina reminds me of when you fight it in the Distortion world in Platinum. Yeah, so that was round 5. Now we move on to the Losers Bracket semifinals, and that is High Lord versus Pojis. So High Lord was previously in the Losers Bracket. I don't remember how we determined that it would be High Lord who would fight... No, sorry, I'm being stupid. The Losers Bracket winners from the previous round were Pojis and High Lord. So they will fight each other, and then they will fight. The winner of that will fight Aiko, who just dropped into the losers bracket with this series against Gare. All right, sorry, I thought I had lost the plot for a second there. High Lord leads off with T-Tar fighting Mew. Gets low kicked, and that is not Chopple or Sash, and it drops. Now, Mew running fighting moves like that, I think that was also a Jirachi set. I think he posted on the forum, so I don't know if Pojis is just using stuff that Jirachi posted on the forums after the fact. But the idea of a fighting move Mew like that is to take advantage of T-Tar that thinks that saving is the standard set of rocks, taunt, U-turn, boom. So down it goes. Dialga comes in. Hang on 1 second, that's important. Yeah, Dialga comes in and threatening a revenge kill. It wants to get out of there and not set up rocks. But if there's a Bronzong, that's probably the rocker. And now Fortress comes in, which is very free against Zong. So that's significant. Yeah. So Zong gets up rocks and then traps the Fori, which spins and then is going to get up Spike. I agree with all the comments that are inevitable. Like, oh, that's so self-indulgent. You shouldn't do that. It's like, yeah, I know. But I should also use scripts and do videos on the current gen. So, and I don't do those either, you know, and I don't edit my videos. So that is part of the package. This is a new level of indulgence, though. You know, I know the bathroom break is just like classic BKC at this point, but, you know, having a very important text conversation in the middle of a video, it really couldn't wait, I promise, because it's, as I recorded this because I thought, alright, most other people I know around me are probably going to bed, because it's, you know, late in Europe, and, and the Americans, they can wait with whatever, right? But yeah, I wasn't expecting this. So, Magnezone is going to switch out. Mew's going to come in, eat a Sacred Fire, not get burned because of the poison, actually working for Pojis. And Giratina comes in to absorb that boom. So this is clearly going to be a T-Spikes abusing Giratina, Calm Mind, or Sub, Protect of some sort. Dialga comes in to scare it out, gets up rock. That's the... So we got a double Stealth Rock from Pojis. I like that a lot. Double Rocks is really cool, very underrated because it gives you a lot of flexibility. Gets the Sacred Fire burn on the Roar, and that will make it easier for a lot of things to deal with Dialga. But we don't know if High Lord had... Oh, there's a Taunt, so it's a Taunt Wisp. Well, no, not necessarily. It could be Taunt Calm Mind as well. But in Sand... Oh! Yeah, so Taunt Wisp Recover can use Light Screen as its last move to support its team, or it can just go all in on its own and use Amnesia. So, yeah. Amnesia reminds me of Mulholland Drive. What a movie. I must see that again soon. So he's just praying to avoid Thunder Paralysis here. as yeah, because the idea is to be unbreakable on both sides. Because you burn physical attackers and then special attackers, you just stall out with the special defense boost. But it's gonna be a while before the Dialga succumbs to burn thanks to leftovers. So missing a lot of thunders in a row. And for those wondering, no, thunder is not 50% accurate in sand. That is a myth. It is 70. It's only 50% in sun. So, I mean, it's not about the damage, it's about the parachance. But that is how many missed thunders in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. The last one's going to para. You already know it. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, that would have been funny. Magnezone comes in and Hylord switches out. Interesting choice. I guess he didn't want to choose between... No, you just taunt it and then you burn it. I don't know. I guess he thought Giratina was safer. He goes and Will-O-Wisps it because Giratina totally walls Magnezone and wisps again and catches a Latios switch. Doesn't switch either and roars. I guess he doesn't have much in the way of a Draco switch, which makes the... I don't know if that Calm Mind was necessary, but in comes a Groudon, gets dragged in, poisoned, activates Lum, and yeah, now he's just going to Draco and take the Giratina out. And the Groudon has expended its Lum. That could be significant. In comes Ho-Oh. Oh, that's another nice move on Hylord's end, because if the Latios Dracos, then Ho-Oh gets a free recover and starts, you know, terrorizing the opponent. So there's a sub, and as Magnezone comes in, and that's looking nasty. So now behind a sub, Ho is just going to terrorize everything because Brave Bird is just going to drop the Latios with the burn. So he tries to Calm Mind on a sub or something so he doesn't get Draco spam or Draco sub stalled. But at this point, it's just, you know, grasping for straws. And that is a 1-0 Hylord lead. DOA, Kyogre, Psycho Boost, not doing half. That's funny. Thunder going for the para, not getting it. Lefty's Kyogre, spikes, and 6-5. Now in comes Dialga going for the Thunder first. That's a bit of a Hylord trademark. And then going for the rocks to punish Kyogre trying to punish free rocks. He just goes right for the Thunder again. Now I'm wondering, does that Dialga not have rocks? In comes Kyogre on the T-Spikes, not going right to the Ghost, knowing how unlikely a Thud... You know, without hazard pressure there, then, you know, it's unlikely that Fori just wants to Thud and do nothing, as opposed to exert some pressure with T-Spikes. Goes for a T-Wave, trying to catch a Lottie Twin, catches a Giratina, that's fine, and there's Bronzong, there's the rocks. Now, if this goes for rocks here, there's definitely a Giratina O on Hylord's team that he just didn't want to go to earlier, and there it is. And now Pojis falls for that Rapid Spin. But no, there's no way that he's going to have a Bronzong on a DOA team without Giratina O in the first place. That's insane. That's just begging for Fortress to destroy you, number two. And if he did, then he wouldn't have used rocks as Fori came in, I don't think. So Tina O now going to Thunder and either Spikes or Payback. So he elects Spikes to at least put pressure on everything, including the Dialga, which is always a pain. And now Pojis' own Bronzong comes in. Are we going to see a Zong on Zong action? No, we're going to see Kyogre come in, not Lum, and as Pojis gets up rocks. In fact, the Kyogre is also leftovers. And Zong's not going to risk it. He's going to sack the useless Fortress on a Calm Mind. So that's going to make the revenge kill scarier, even though Kyogre is getting slightly worn down. And in comes Dialga. Thunder eats a big Hydro 71. Kyogre is kind of nuts. As it is preserved for death fodder, and in comes Dialga of Hylords. So, roared out to maybe reveal the last, while still KOing Dialga with hazards effectively. Draco, miss. That's unfortunate, for sure. And now Kyogre is sacrificed, so... I don't know, that felt like it could have been avoided. Well, actually, yeah, I mean, if you're going to go to Giratina O and it's against the paralyzed Giratina, then... Yeah, now Zong comes in, it's going to get beaten down. Yeah, ultimately, we don't know just how much that affected it. In comes Scizor after Dialga is sacked and Bronzong preserved. With Roost, I wonder if this could maybe make something happen, because it... Yeah, especially with SD, that could get ugly, barring, stuff. Well, there's one part of stuff, the Thunder Para. Bulky SD Scizor is not something you ever see. You don't see SD Scizor in Ubers. You generally see, it pursuiting in some capacity. Like, Lefty's Pursuit is a set. SD, not so much. But, yeah, now it's really asking for it with the Roost spam. I guess it kind of had to go for it, but he Bullet Punches finishes it off. And now it's too low to avoid, parried. And here's a fun little DPP mechanic. When you sacrifice a Pokemon to hazards, then Boom does not go off. So, Hylord just booms anyway, and now I assume that was because he could afford to, because he's going to clean up with Kabutops. Yeah. So, Hylord moves on to the Losers Bracket Finals. So, the winner of the Losers Bracket Finals will face Gary Oak in the Grand Finals. And in the Grand Finals, if Gary wins the first... Gary just has to win one of two series. So if Gary wins the first series against the winner of Eiko versus Hylord, then, just for consistent perspective here, because we just saw Hylord on this side, and we saw Eiko on the other side in the other series against Gary. Yeah, so if Gary wins the first series against Hylord, the winner of Hylord versus Eiko, then the tournament is over. But if Hylord or Eiko win the first series against Gary, they also have to beat him in a second straight series. So that's the advantage of being in the winner's bracket and the disadvantage of being in the loser's bracket. So, Rai into Giratina O. That is Giratina O's least favorite lead. And in comes Kyogre, the sleep-talking answer to Darkrai that you gotta have when you have a lead that is weak to it, like Frostlass. Bad Dreams reveal a lefty's Kyogre, that's significant, and then comes a Tyranitar, which matches up well against most Dialgas that try to switch into such Kyogres to wall them, get up rocks. Kyogre comes in and takes a banded EQ, so that T-Tar is definitely a support Dialga Punisher, and smacks Kyogre real hard too, as it reveals lefties, but that's still a ton of damage. In comes Latias, gets T-Waved. And comes Bronzong to eat Thunder. Actually does a lot of damage. People forget Soldu Latias is very strong as well. But it's going to get up rocks, and the Latias is parried, so that's going to make Kyogre more threatening later. It comes back in, and it wouldn't be surprising if Hylord just stayed in and exploded this Kyogre, given how threatening it has become. And Eiko has a similar idea, trying to absorb that Boom with Dialga. But that Dialga switch was great, not just because it absorbed Boom, but because it has a positive matchup against this Latias that has switched in. So great move from Eiko. Zong comes back in, absorbs the Draco Meteor. Seeing a lot of Zongs, it's really proven itself. And let me just answer this text one more time. I promise it's the last one. Yeah. So, you want to know what we're talking... No, it's, anyway. Yeah, Rocks, Kyogre, great double switch Dialga, Draco Meteor does a decent chunk? Yeah, that's actually a very decent chunk, 35. And that makes me think Adamant Orb and Thunder, and here's a very cool tool in Bronzong's arsenal that can turn the tables, big time. I mean, it's not a reliable move in and of itself, but Bronzong, as you can see, has so many switch-in opportunities that it evens out. It's like Sing Blissey in advance. Yeah, horrible accuracy, but it's using the move so many times, and if you just need it to land once for the game-changing effect, then yeah. So the Dialga has been slept, and now that is a free switch-in for this CBT Tar, which is clearly very difficult to switch into. He goes for Payback and smacks that Bronzong. Payback was a very riskless move there because it still is going to hit that Dialga quite hard if it even stays in, which is risky. And Darkrai, another Dark Resist, that doesn't want to switch in. And of course, it absolutely cleaves through Bronzong, doing double damage on the switch as it did pre-Gen 5. And then it goes faster and takes it out with a very important crit. Kyogre comes in again. Latias comes in to take it again, even though Hydro does actually a pretty big chunk. And now it's going to Calm Mind to try and take advantage of the paralyzed Latias. This is why the T-Wave primals are especially terrifying. And Ice Beam is going to 2-hit KO, and Thunder paralyzes it back. In comes Dialga again on Recover. Nice move on Hylord's end, sensing that switch. And Dragon Pulse crits this. I mean, the Dialga was asleep, but that was unfortunate. In comes Latios. It has Dragon Pulse and not Draco Meteor and doesn't use it. And this... Okay, well, it gets paralyzed, so at least there was that. But that Latias was really on a roll there. As T-Tar comes in, survives Grass Knot and gets another KO, this time with Pursuit. And the help of its own sand, of course. Now in comes Groudon, scared of giving it free setup. Then you switch right out, go to Giratina O, and get T-Wave. So there's the Paradance Groudon, a great set with SD to destroy Ho-Oh at that. Draco Meteor does a lot of damage though, so not sure about that. Well, this cover. Okay, I guess this coverage is walled by Bronzong, and it doesn't Shadow Sneak there. Might not. I don't know why. I guess he didn't want to risk giving it another SD or something. I don't know. But I'm sure the last will be fat. Yeah, there's a Scarf Dialga. And it's just going to... It looks like it's going to clean at this point. But yeah, even Bronzong could live 1+2 Stone Edge at that range and boom if necessary. So in comes Darkrai. T-Tar is sacrificed. And Darkrai is going to take a little bit of Sand Chip. In comes Zong again, gonna boom, and that'll be the game. Or Gyro Ball, feasibly. No, he's just gonna EQ. Nice, he doesn't realize he doesn't have to risk it. Yeah, this Zong set is really putting in overtime. As now the Groudon has to SD and hope for... I mean, actually it can still just boom. I mean, I guess the Zong is walled by Giratina, but that's why he's got the T-Tar to pursue it. And the +4 Stone Edge on the paralyses does not go anywhere as the Zong blows up, and the Dialga cannot break through. It being Scarf, it's not going to break through the Sleep Talking Kyogre. Can't even break through the Dialga. So that is a 1-0 lead for Hylord. And now we are going to Game 2. T-Tar versus Forretress. Fire Blast, and the Forretress is sashed, as opposed to the common Lum, or, even Akka. So I guess that lets us stay on Kyogre leads. And it gets up a T-Spike, but in comes Groudon, and takes a Crunch and a crit, and a Defense Drop. Ooh, this T-Tar's got lucky there. Gets up Rocks, gets T-Wave, so Fori is down, and the Rocks are going to stay. Eiko gets up Rocks as well, but does not want to EQ into a Sash Tar and lose Groudon, which is more important, so Fori is sacked because it's less important. Now in comes Garchomp, and a double switch to Ho-Oh, trying to take advantage of a Bronzong or something, or like a Skarmory that would come in and wall a Scarf Chomp, but the T-Tar stays in. He's like, no, I'm just going to stay in and chunk the Garchomp. He's really just playing this T-Tar in kamikaze style. So, yeah, Ho-Oh is looking... I mean, the Ho-Oh isn't threatened by it, necessarily. It's going to be like Fire Blast, Crunch, and then like Low Kick or Superpower. But, it's still not something you want to face. Although it being in Sun means that, especially with the minus defense nature that Sash Tar runs, means the Sacred Fire is going to plow it. But first, it's very likely to see a Recover or a Roost. So, in comes Kyogre, and Protect Ho-Oh, my baby. Oh, I love that set. It's going to rack up some nice poison damage there, and I hope to see it put in more work later in this game. He's just going to spam T-Wave, in comes Latias, and T-Tar is a feasible switch here, but it's going to be Jirachi instead on a full para. Lefties, is this Jirachi going to U-turn? Or, I mean, para is also not very nice, but It's going to wish to Kyogre as another roost goes off for Eiko. Gonna see are we gonna see a Protect, or are we gonna see right to Latias and for fear of Calm Mind? Oh, it's T-Wave Calm Mind. I'm not, sorry, T-Wave Calm Mind. T-Wave Rest. I'm not really an extreme fan of that set, but yeah, Rest Talk, T-Wave, but it has its uses. So Latias is used as a Latias switch, seeing the Recover go off, and now Mewtwo is the answer to Latias, which can be dicey, especially if we're going into Calm Mind War territory. So that skipped ahead by accident. So that Thunder did a lot of damage, and since Thunder is the move as opposed to Dragon Pulse, looking for that that para chance, then Eiko makes, or another Calm Mind if you want to go that way. Then Eiko makes a great move, the risky but necessary move of going to Scarf Chomp, knowing Dragon Pulse isn't coming there, and now the Latias is going to be scared out. And goes right for EQ, not letting Jirachi absorb it and taking the T-Tar out immediately. Because T-Tar is a great move there, because even if Eiko stays and goes for Dragon Claw, then it's not going to KO the T-Tar, and then you will be able to go to Jirachi afterwards, and you'll still have the T-Tar sacrifice for later. So EQ prevents Hylord from getting that sack later. Of course, it does come with the minor downside of letting Latias in again, but one step at a time. Groudon is sacrificed, Ho-Oh comes in, and no more Sun, unfortunately. But he goes right for Brave Bird, and he's got a little more than 33% chance, because I was going to say, including Brave Bird crit, of avoiding something disastrous. He needs Hylord to roll Rest or to get a Brave Bird crit there. Sorry. And in comes Latias, but it's in rain, and Ho-Oh's out of the picture, and Latias is looking really, really dangerous now. And it's pretty much don't lose to Garchomp, and it's hard to see this one going south. Feasibly Mewtwo, I guess. I don't know. I don't see the Mewtwo breaking through. As Wish and now Chomp, and it's Protect, so yeah, gonna be very difficult for this one to get out of hand. As there's a double to Mewtwo on the Latias switch. Dragon Pulse, not quite going to do it. Is it going to be Recover? It is Recover, and this risks... yep, it gets paralyzed, and that's going to be that for Mewtwo. We don't even know Hylord's last two, as Chomp comes in, and anytime you switch a choice Pokemon into a Protect Jirachi, it's generally not a good sign, as it's forced out and Latias comes in, but you can't even punish. As soon as Garchomp locks into EQ, Latias comes in, and you can't even punish that at this point. So the game's definitely over, and Eiko forfeits. And Hylord has come back all the way from losing in round 1, was it? No, wait, yeah, no, Hylord lost in... Oh, wait, no, sorry, I'm not looking at that correctly. Yeah, in the playoffs, Hylord lost in the first round to Pojis, actually. Yeah, Hylord lost to Pojis in round 1 of the playoffs and has battled all the way back to the finals. So that's incredibly impressive. Like, literally lost the first opportunity. So he has been in the loser's bracket, ever since there was a loser's bracket. And now he's in the finals. So we are going to leave that grand finals for its own video. As Hylord, of course, got his revenge on Pojis in this video. So I will see you in the next one for the grand finals.